Faith with Wings by AmyLu Riley. Chapter 1. For the Love of God. As the years continued to pass without complete healing, I sometimes felt a little resentful toward Paul. First, because he got such clear revelation about the reason for his thorn in the flesh, whatever it was, and second, because he apparently received an answer from God each time he prayed about it, even though it wasn't the response he had asked for. I have received such wonderful revelations from God, so to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. 3 different times I begged the Lord to take it away. Each time he said, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12, 7-9. Since God deals with us each uniquely, John 21:22, Matthew 20:12, I knew it wasn't a good idea for me to zero in on this single instance of God's dealings with Paul and demand the same style of communication from God for myself. There were people who had prayed for far longer than I, who had also heard no such reply. But sometimes I just wished God would clue me in about what was going on in my life. And then one day, as I read Jesus' message to the church at Ephesus, Revelation 2, 1-7, I realized that I had another problem, even bigger than being unhealed. You have patiently suffered for me without quitting, but I have this complaint against you. You don't love me or each other as you did at first. Revelation 2, 3-4. I knew that Jesus could say the same thing about my love for him and that he'd be right. And I knew that had to change. Cool love. I do love God, of course, but I have awakened to the realization, definitely not in the way I should. My love for God seems to be only in my mind, which is not the same as the love He wants me to have, love that pervades the heart, mind, and soul, love that spills out in action toward others. He wants the love described in 1 John 4, 7-12. I think Jesus' word complaint in Revelation 2:4 pinpoints the cause. Without even being aware of it until now, I think I have harbored an unformed complaint against God. I haven't given it words or a voice. I've kept my head down and I have kept on, but I can see it in my heart. I am disappointed at the way I perceive God has chosen to deal with me. My reality has not yet fallen into line with my expectations of Him, which I thought were based on Scripture. Yet it's not only that. The way God has handled His end of things has been painful, and pain itself has been a wedge. I see from Scripture that I am not alone in that. Job had complaints too, a number of them. Although Job was commended for his perseverance, James 5:11, just as the church in Ephesus was in Revelation 2, Job had many complaints against God, and he even called them that. See Job 6:5, 7:11, 9:27, 10:1, 21:4, 23:2, and perhaps also 13:3 and 15. Job talked about being sick at heart and terrified, Job 23:16. He said that God had wronged him, Job 19:6, and persecuted him, Job 19:22. That God didn't answer him or even look at him when he cried to God, Job 30:20, and that God had become cruel toward him, Job 30:21. And God confirmed that Job was right about all of that, Job 42:7. Jesus felt it too, and even though Jesus knew the plan for his own suffering, agreed to it, and then willingly submitted to carrying it out, he also still felt pain at the way God dealt with him. At about 3 o'clock, Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Matthew 27:46. Jesus' pain had even been prophesied and felt in some measure by David. "Why are you so far away when I groan for help? Every day I call to you, my God, but you do not answer. Every night I lift my voice, but I find no relief." Psalm 22, 1 and 2. But of course, God didn't leave Jesus stuck in that pain. After Jesus' resurrection from the dead and appearances to the disciples, Jesus was later taken up into heaven and sat down in the place of honor at God's right hand, Mark 16:19, a reality that is quite the opposite of abandonment by God. If I can adjust my expectations, to align correctly with who God really is and what He actually does. And if I can realize that I too will come through my own pain at some point, can I get through it all loving Him? Paul did. His suffering never seemed to interrupt his deep intimacy with God. And so Jesus' words to the church in Ephesus convict me. So, you think what you've been through constitutes grounds for complaint against me? Listen to my complaint against you. Your love has cooled off. Maybe this is why Jesus said the greatest commandment is to love God. Matthew 22:37 and 38. Things that are easy and just come naturally don't usually need to be made into commandments. So if loving God is the greatest commandment, maybe it is also the most difficult thing to do. The reasons I assumed I'd ended up in this state of cooled love seemed outside my control. Yet it must still be possible to love God with all my heart, mind, and soul, or else Jesus wouldn't have spoken about it the way He did. Matthew 22:37, Revelation 2:3 and 4. And even though obedience is not optional, but imperative, doesn't the mandate to love God point beyond mere rule-keeping to the reality that love is the preferred state in which to live in relationship with a God who is love? I recognized that I needed to love God fully, and I wanted to, but how? God, show me what to do to love you more. I imagined all the wedges to my closeness with God, all of my complaints, being turned upside down, becoming fulcrums to leverage my suffering into the very thing that presses me closer to God's heart than I have ever been. Rather than be on the defensive against God in areas of my life that were painful to me, I would partner with Him to go on the offensive against the gates of hell. It sounded good, but what could actually bring that vision to life? I asked God to help me. I could not have foreseen the forms that help would take. Here are the discussion questions for Chapter 1. Question 1. If Jesus were writing a letter to me like those in Revelation 2 and 3, what could He say about my love for Him? Question 2. How are my complaints against God connected to my answer to question 1? Question 3. What do I need to ask God for help with? Faith with Wings by AmyLu Riley is available now. For details and to get your free starter kit, visit amyluriley.com/faithwithwings. Get ready to soar free.